All right. Hello and welcome everyone to the Tennocon 2023 breakdown. I am returned from Canada after live streaming Tennocon live over on twitch.tv/Brozime. If you guys want to see that, it's like a full 8 hours. We didn't quite make it through on the battery that I had brought of Tenno Live, but if you want to see what the convention was like, at least for me, um, yeah, there's 8 hours of it. We did like basically the full day outside of the end of 10:00 Live, and honestly, considering the volume of the cheers at 10:00 Live, might have destroyed the microphone on my live streaming backpack anyhow. So maybe it's a good thing that it died before all that. That being said, we are going to start at the beginning of 10:00 Live and kind of just talk about everything that got revealed because there is quite a bit. We are going to start with the thing that has been causing a bunch of kind of controversy, I suppose, though, which is the heirloom skins. So this is a new collection that DE is putting out, and they are basically like super deluxe skins is kind of the pitch here. This is Frost and Mag, and the big thing here is that there is a new cosmetic type, which is basically like a crown or halo type cosmetic called a Signa. And then these packs are only available until the end of this year. So that is a consideration. Basically, it's kind of 10 years into the game. It's a Founders 2, and it's similar to that in a lot more ways than you might think. So real quickly, we are going to jump over to in-game because I bought this. I bought this partially just to, like, see everything, customize everything, and be able to talk about it. But also, I think the skins look super sick, and I think what D is doing is super sick, and I want to support the game. So that is also a factor for this. This is Frost, and just quickly on Frost, I wanted to show how the actual Signas work, because they do have, like, adjustments on them. So these are heirloom Signas. You can see the Frost one that I have hovering there. And then you can swap that to the Mag one. These are available on every single Warframe, so either or can be used on every frame. If we want to show like the adjustment here, there's a Y offset for this, so you can make it either farther away or closer, and even inside of the head of many of the helmets. I don't think every single helmet has the full clipping, but if you want to clip it inside yourself, you can definitely do that, and you can do that even more so with the Mag one, because this one is kind of meant to float above your character's head. But these are neat. They take attachment colors, so it's going to be all that stuff there. In terms of the skin quality, I think this is the best Frost skin, bar none. It's especially good because Frost has a new build now that makes him considerably better, which that will get its own video. We'll talk about that another time. But yeah, I think it looks great, and I think the Signas are a really cool new cosmetic, so that's cool. Going to show Mag right quickly, just so you can see what I've done with her. I think her Signa also looks cool. I did end up going with the Frost Signa because I just think it's the cooler of the two here. Though I have used the Mag Signa on a couple other Warframes. It's on my Protea, for example. So that just shows that they're interchangeable. You can go either way with it. This one does look good too, but I'm a sucker for a halo on a frame that it looks good on. And this skin, also, I think that it is the best skin Mag's ever had, and it's not a huge amount of competition outside of some of the Tenogen, which is stellar on her. So they're quite nice visually. There are also a few other things that you do get with it. There is this emote that I'm going to show real quick, like how it is, which is basically like 2 slashes, and you just kind of hover here. Standard of like the logo type emotes, I guess I would say, but it is cool. And it's also neat that if we do it from this angle, you can actually see that it does like build the logo from like the effects of the emote, which is neat. And the other main thing that you get you get like a sigil and stuff, and the sigil is like basically a prime sigil, but with like the logo for like the 10-year anniversary. Other thing, you do get an accolade on your profile by buying any of the different packs that are available as well, so that it will be a consideration for some people. And yeah, to talk about the packs real quick in terms of value. So the lowest one is $30, and you get the sigil, the glyph, the emote, and the color palette. The color palette is pretty good here. 1 second. We'll go show that real quick. You do get the accolade even at the lowest, and you get 400 platinum here at $30. Just to real quickly jump down here, though, and show the color palette, because I did forget that part. It is here, the Deca Heirloom pack. So yeah, this is, you'll kind of see how it is just like on Mag's main body here. It has like these, like, nice dark colors in the middle if you don't have these, but if you're interested in getting these, you probably already have the smoke palette. I do think that the browns available in this palette are really, really nice, and we don't have a huge selection of like a variety of like browns to use for like kind of like leather and those types of material looks that you might want. So that's nice. And like the blues and stuff in here are also quite good. But overall, the color palette is not like anything super crazy. The best section in terms of being different from others, I do think, is like this section of browns that you get, which I think look quite good. Otherwise, though, in terms of a value on these packs, looking real quickly on them, we have the heirloom collection. This, I think, this is by far the worst value. This is $30, and it's 400 platinum, which is not great. Like, it's basically undiscounted platinum. And then you get like the 10-year accolade, and unless you really love the emote, I feel like there's not a ton here. So would not suggest the Risen Heirloom collection. At the very least, the Celestial, this will actually get you the skins. It does not notably get you like the color palette and stuff though. So this is essentially kind of splitting the pack, where this is a $70 pack, which is 6 Regal Aya, and then just the skins and the Signas for both frames and the accolade. So this, if you really just want the skins, then you could go with this. 6 Regal Aya in terms of value is a little hard to touch, but we're going to get to that in a second because Aya is not offered just by itself. Now, with the Zenith Heirloom Collection, this is basically just all of it. There's everything together, and also the Platinum bumps up to 600. So it is 6 Regal Aya and 600 Platinum. It's a $90 pack, and it comes with just everything. You get all the sigils, glyphs, emotes, color palettes, both skins, both Signas, all the business. And 6 Regal Aya and 600 Platinum, we can very, very easily determine the kind of value that you're getting just on that from this pack. So if we look at our Resurgence, we can grab this. So we can look at the 7 Regal Aya, which is $40 and comes with 400 bonus platinum. You're getting another 200 platinum on that, so it's a little bit easier actually to look at this pack, which is 15 Regal Aya, which is $80. So this is $10 cheaper than the heirloom pack, and comes with 1200 bonus platinum, which is double, and it comes with a little more than double the Regal Aya that you're going to be getting. So it's 6 Regal Aya and 600 bonus platinum. So it's basically $40 worth of Plat and Aya together. And after the feedback from the Regal Aya stuff, people were pretty happy with this. So think of it as you're basically getting a $40 Regal Aya pack along with your skins and stuff. So with that, though, we end up at the situation where the heirloom packs... These are not popping up correctly. Here we go. Oop. There we go. Where the heirloom packs, you basically could pretty easily justify like being like, well, it's not $90, it's $50. And $50, you look at this and you go, well, is this better than like a Warframe accessories pack? So like on a Prime Access, you get the accessories pack, which is usually 2 accessories, and then you get some like, 3-month-long boosters. And 3-month-long boosters is a pretty good value if you're going to be using them, of course, but plenty of people buy those without really utilizing those boosters to like a big extent or anything like that, and just kind of, passively have it. So the boosters are kind of dependent on your situation on whether or not you really, really value those. And for the Signas and the skins, and the, the emotes and the glyphs and the sigils and the color palette to a lesser extent, I think that this is a considerable step up from a Warframe accessories pack, because it's not just like, one cosmetic, and then like a much smaller cosmetic on the side. It is 2 pretty major cosmetics and 2 brand new cosmetic types even. So there's an argument to be made for that. Overall, what it's going to come down to is if you really, really love these skins and just how they look, then it's probably worth it for you. If, in addition to that, you think that Warframe is in a good place. Because the kind of like, fear of missing out of this is that like, well, in the future, I'll wish I had done the heirloom thing. But that won't happen if you don't really like these skins. Like, that really won't be a thing. If you don't think that these skins are really cool and great and you want them, or the Signas are really cool and great and you want them, or if you feel like Warframe is not in a great place, if you've not been enjoying the recent updates and all that stuff, my advice to you is to not buy it. But if you, like me, have been having a fantastic time, like with basically all of the updates for this whole year, um, and like New War was great, and like it's been a really good time, I think, for Warframe, and DE recently has been doing a really good job of fixing things up. And alongside the other announcements that we're about to talk about with Tennocon, um, there's an argument to be made. Monetarily, it's not like you're getting just like, oh, buy the Regal Aya and buy the Platinum, and then everything else is kind of extra with this pack. But it's a cosmetic, right? It's if you, yeah, those are the considerations for this. I'm not going to tell anyone that it is definitely obviously worth it. But I will tell you that the Regal Aya and the Platinum make up about $40 of this pack. So if you can justify spending the $50 on the cosmetics that are in this pack, that's the evaluation that you're looking at. It's not $90 for some skins, because there is other stuff that does have like a noted value that the community had feedback on, and generally I think we think is pretty good now to consider in here. But yeah, that's what's up with the heirloom things. I know that's been like a source of controversy and stuff. For me personally, I think that Warframe is in a great place, and I just bought it. Moving on, though, we have a lot of other actual news to talk about from Tennocon, and that is starting with Soulframe. Started out with Soulframe, and there's just some general notes that I have here. For those that don't remember, Soulframe, it's a free-to-play, similar structure to Warframe in that it's going to be co-op, and then it's going to be fighting and just like farming and doing the things like that. But it is going to be a much slower pace, and the theming is kind of the exact opposite of Warframe's theming. Whereas Warframe has like a lot of elements in the story of like kind of like the coming of age story for the operator, and like moving forward kind of from not much. It seems like Soulframe has a big like reclamation and like bringing nature back kind of theme to it, and like that's looking back at ancestors and like that kind of vibe. So from a theming perspective, it seems like it's completely divorced from Warframe entirely. Like just like your motivations are probably going to be very dissimilar from what we usually see in Warframe. So that's kind of some world building stuff that goes into that. It does also seem to be primarily open world, and then you'll just have generated dungeons that you jump into, which is cool. Also, interestingly, kind of bringing what maybe open worlds were supposed to be at some point for Warframe into the baseline of what Soulframe is. Also, there is a new lighting engine. So that is going to be shared with Warframe. We saw some of that in the upcoming update for this year. New lighting stuff looks really cool. Looks excellent. There's conversation systems with dialogue choices. You can pause, it seems like, at any time in the open world, at least probably out of combat. And that'll send you back to your Lizette equivalent, where you can do gear customization. They have a few things that are honestly probably going to change over the early development of the game, but I've noted them anyway, which is that you have virtues to alter your main stats, which look like essentially to be like health, stamina, and magic kind of adjusters, but obviously early days, so it's really hard to say. Your arm/ode swap is basically like your Warframe swap, where you're going to swap two different abilities by changing out your whole arm, and you seem to get new arms by kind of like helping like the spirits of the world, and then they give you the gear from helping them. Also, different weapons and armor slots for like your character that you're going to build out, and all that. And then you'll have a whole section of like kind of ancestor soul power that seems to be a whole separate kind of cluster of characters to level that will give you power from like what they seem to be good at, seem to be the implication. Also, thing that is probably not going to like be there at the end of all things, but there was no loading in the demo. There was no loading at all. It just like you drop down a well, you're in a generated level. If that's going to be in the actual game, that's insane and extremely cool. But there probably will actually be loading whenever we actually get our hands on this thing. The combat, a lot of it's focused on like doing, environmental traps to enemies, dropping spikes down from the ceiling, stealth attacks, like kicking enemies around, throwing your sword. They were finding treasure chests in like the randomly generated areas. They came upon like a spirit that basically gave you like a big buff flame sword to go through part of the level. The combat in general. So I've seen a lot of people say that it is very Souls-like. I've watched the gameplay a few different times, and I feel like there's a little bit of that. But that little bit of that seems to be just what the God of War, the more recent two, Ragnarok and the one before, got from Souls. So I would say that the combat is very, very much reminiscent of the more recent God of War games in terms of kind of everything. The way that you like kind of soft lock onto the enemies, the way that you like roll. A lot of that stuff seems to be very God of War feeling wise. Which rules. I mean, I could definitely see myself playing a like long-term free to play game that has God of War like combat. That sounds great. I love the combat in the new God of War games. So seems really sick. But the soul stuff that people have been saying, it seems more like God of War has like slowed its pace and taken on some things from there, such as like like something kind of Estus and those types of things. And there seems to be a little bit of the Souls influence here, but much more it seems like God of War and those types of games, those kind of like low UI type games have really like influenced what Soulframe's going to be pretty heavily, which is not a bad thing. They called in a giant wolf mount, so you can ride that around in the open world. Seems neat. Also, okay, so I'm not saying that this is just completely ripped wholesale, but I would be expelled from school had I done anything similar. Straight up, it's the Ocarina of Time minigame for doing a bunch of puzzles and some of like what appeared to be the story stuff, where you are doing like the notes on like the note chart in the exact same way as Ocarina of Time, which is really cool. I loved like that, like the Ocarina interacting with the world and doing all that type of stuff. That rules. But man, it is exactly that. Also, the thing that I was noticing in terms of like enemy reaction, even like your kind of normal enemies seem like they were relatively hard to interrupt without using abilities, which might just be like a feel thing that'll get sorted out whenever this game goes through its like closed alpha and all that type of business eventually. But it looked like enemies were pretty unreactive to being like hit in the face with what appeared to be a heavy attack. Unless you were like freezing them with your powers or like using like an explosion on them, which seemed very effective. Also, they showed a puzzle where you basically have like a detective slash spirit vision in order to like see hints and stuff in order to get through rooms. So more of like a puzzle aspect to the game as well. Also, the boss fight stuff looked to be kind of the earliest of anything that they showed. There was mainly, doing a parry and then doing a retaliation, and it was very like slow. There didn't seem to be like a lot of aggression from the player side, but that also could just be that those boss mechanics and stuff aren't fully hammered out yet, and they just wanted to show kind of like the scale of what those boss battles are going to be. The scale wise, very much in that like new God of War kind of actually Souls like in terms of like size type boss, which seemed cool. But yeah, that's pretty much we saw like a big run through of the Soulframe things. Seemed cool. They kind of showed off co-op. Like there were 2 players for a little while there. That didn't like go into the boss fight or anything like that. So there was like they were doing multiplayer, but like in a very, very like selective, small scale way, where it was like kind of a couple rooms where that was occurring. So not a lot to go off of there in terms of how the co-op is gonna, like players are gonna interact really. Besides, you're gonna kill enemies together, but pretty interesting nonetheless. Seems cool. Can't wait for more information on Soulframe. I think that the world seems really interesting, and it seems like it's going to differentiate itself in a big way from what Warframe is currently. Moving on, we have updates coming up in a row here. So first and foremost, we have the Abyss of Dagath, which is the October update. This is going to be kind of our spooky update, and we are getting the new Warframe Dagath. And she's going to be coming with her new signature Whip Claw. Hopefully that comes with some maybe stance fixes for Whip Claws, because Whip Claws kind of ate it whenever the stances got changed. But I would love to use a Whip Claw again, because they're really cool weapons whenever they have a good stance. So that's interesting. This is going to be our Halloween Nabris update, as I said before. And this is going to be a huge quality of life update. We don't have a lot of specifics on this, and a lot of this stuff they basically are like, we're going to talk more about that next month on the dev stream. But just in general, quality of life. Hydroid's fucking getting reworked. Thank God. He is far and away the worst Warframe in the game, and if he can even become okay, that will be a huge deal. He's going to be getting a new ability. His passive is going to be changed, and then other than that, we're going to see more of that on the next dev stream. Awesome. Hydroid rework, very down for it. Please fix him. He is. It's been a rough time. It's been a rough time for the squid. In addition to that, also, we are getting the companion rework. Now, I have some concerns with like how they're going to do it, but main thing, first and foremost, is no permadeath. No permadeath for companions at all, and harder to kill in general. Pablo said about like 50% more like increase in like how hard it is to kill them, which 50% more than like a 12 is, only 18. But it's something to hopefully make them more resilient. Also, we're going to be getting new mods for companions, which is the much more interesting part because that might help bring them back much more quickly, along with gameplay mechanics they said to help return them to battle. Which, if that's like, hey, if you kill 30 guys, your companion comes back if they're dead, or like if you're like building charges for them to return over like the course of a mission or whatnot, that sounds good to me personally. Unfortunately, before I left for Tennocon, we were actually working on a rework for What If Companions But Good, which I'll just show now. So we were going through and like giving all of the all of them, no like, removing companion health and shields and everything. Just had a bunch of ideas for all this stuff, but we might still go over that just for fun at some point. But that's what I was working on actually before we left for Tennocon for the week. But yeah, so hopefully it's very good. I think, even the baseline of, hey, companions can't die anymore and they're no longer a pain in my ass whenever they're just like a dog or a cat that is just on the floor and it's like, res me. If that goes away, awesome. Stellar. Can't wait. Because that is really the main thing that I think most people want. Also, focus acquisition increases. So basically, you're going to get a chunk of focus just for picking up like the focus orb that drops in missions. That just like that yellow icon that just pops up. Just picking that up is going to start giving you a chunk of focus, which is nice. Also, big thing here, they're going to be optimizing a variety of quests. This means a lot of things. This is basically just like progression, making it much more smooth for players through. The main thing, the absolute main thing that I really need this to be is getting a necromech. Necromechs are I think they are the blocker for new players getting to see like the new war and the Angels of the Zarmon and all that excellent content that is in the game. Because getting them is just a pain due to what their mechanics are, because their mechanics just very simply aren't very fun. And there's not really like a whole lot you can do besides cheese them. Like pretty much anything that is an effective way to take them down solo is just cheese. Or the thing people will say is like, oh, why don't you just use the Void Rig on the Necromech? If I had the fucking Void Rig, I wouldn't be farming the Necromechs. But yeah, it's a whole thing. Necromechs are like a huge pain right now. Hopefully their mechanics are just going to change in general because of some things that we're about to talk about that are going to be kind of expanding the Necromech faction. But I really, really want the Necromechs to kind of no longer be a pain point for players needing to, go through the process of building that in order to get into the new war, or at least to have that process be much faster and easier. So that's the thing. Also, they mentioned Ureli's quest, which I already thought was like easy but annoying. And if you remove the annoying part, then that sounds great. Also, they are removing broken mods. Removing broken mods is exceedingly interesting to me because if you remove the broken mods, you do have to replace that with something. So we might be, I mean, the ideal world that I think about is like, oh, hey, maybe they're doing the thing that I've been saying for ages, which is like you start out and you get a couple missions that like rank your starter gear up real fast, and they just give you kind of your basic mod set for all your starter items. So you have something to go off of as a new player and don't need to interact with the modding system. I talked about that on stream a lot. But if they do that, that will be a incredible on-ramp for new players. So here's hoping, but that would be, a bit more than just remove broken mods and maybe just make them not broken. And then accessibility options. Accessibility options kind of extrapolating out to some systemic changes as well. And that means auto melee, which is no more spamming E, and that this is becoming the default state. You're just going to hold E, and then you're going to be doing melee attacks. This means more melee mechanics are going to be discussed in the September dev stream because they're kind of removing you hitting E a bunch, so they're going to be adding more stuff to it, potentially maybe getting those like kind of the channeling replacement that was talked about so long ago. But I mean, making melee full auto is I think that's great. Personally, I haven't really seen any value in just like mashing the shit out of E. There's kind of nothing there for me in terms of that, so That's really good. Also, enemy outline slash visibility. So you'll be able to basically give enemies like an outline if you have visibility trouble with like, recognizing where the enemies are and like if they blend into the environment for you. They're going to be having some quality of life stuff for that. And then hugely important is the conservation visual improvements for being able to tell where like the conservation animals are. That is such a pain right now. So that'll actually even be good for me, which enemy stuff I don't really have any trouble with, but for conservation, just making it more clear where those guys are is going to be excellent. Moving on, though, that is going to be the October update. We also are having, around that time, the next Prime, which is going to be Grendel. Grendel, the Zylok, and the Masseter. Hopefully the Zylok, because this does also have the Incarnin, is going to be quite good with the Incarnin on it, because right now the Zylok with the Incarnin is one of the most underwhelming ones by far, and this hopefully can bump that back up to be very desirable. Grendel Prime, to note here real quick, I think he looks great. The Grendel rework was excellent, and he is really, really good now. Like there's, he's far and away above where he was before. Very effective Warframe now, and I think that the Prime looks really good. Though I'm wondering how this is going to look with my fashion for him, but if I turn off the Prime details, then that's what happens. Though I'm probably going to switch to something on this new look. And then we're also getting the Masseter, which everyone probably could have expected. It is his signature weapon. And this is, I believe this is considered a heavy blade. And, those are in a horrible state right now. So probably not much to do there. But Grendel looks great, and hopefully the Zylok is good with its Incarnin. Also, cross-save and mobile stuff to talk about. So cross-save is going to release this year. That is going to be rolled out in phases, starting with the Dagath update. The Dagath update is just going to have like a bunch of stuff to unify data coming through, because obviously they don't want to release cross-save and then have all of you lose your accounts. That would be bad. And then that is the reason why mobile is next year. I actually I expected cross-save to be the thing that would hold mobile up. Having played the mobile version myself quite a bit, even months ago, it was honestly really solid, and it's up to the point where it has Duviri running in it and everything like that. So they're going to have tons of time to optimize that and get everything really nice on mobile before we get cross-save all hammered out by the end of this year. And then mobile should be great. It's going to be really nice whenever it comes out, I think, especially if you're just like doing some casual stuff like jump on, grab borrow Katir, do like, just some systemic stuff like that, get your login reward for the day, and doing those types of things, I think is going to be really easy. Not something that I would probably want to do like a 4-hour survival on, although I wouldn't really want to go past 2 hours most times anyway. But yeah, seems like it's going to be good. For those of you that are excited for the mobile version, I would advise, especially if you are already a console player, grab like a controller for your phone, because it's just going to make your experience like way better. It's just going to turn your phone into a Switch for Warframe. But yeah, moving on, we have the actual like huge announcements, and that is starting with Whispers in the Walls. So this is the cinematic quest for this year, and it looks extremely cool. So this is going to be way more information on Albrecht. Obviously, we've been talking about on stream that I thought that things were going to go into Albrecht. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but it seems like we're getting that in a lot of like very interesting ways. Basically, we are having Lloyd, the Cephalon kind of little construct boy, little necromech construct Lloyd, brings us down into Albrecht's lab to free the Sleeper. The Sleeper is real Lloyd, the original Lloyd, who wants us to wake up these vessels that you can see here. This like giant man wants us to wake those vessels for some purpose. We do not know what that purpose is. And a few like just kind of details here. There's going to be a new necromech faction, expanding the necromech faction, and that's going to be what we're fighting in Albrecht's lab. The Void Tongue is what the booming voice of the man on the wall is called, which is a small detail that we got here. There's a new Grimoire weapon type, which is basically just a straight-up magic spellcasting book. That looks very cool. It's like an Incarnin system on that, which seems neat. We're going to be getting that from the quest. And then, in addition to the Albrecht's Lab tile set, we also have the Great Indifference, which is like a vast desert-like temple area, with another new faction called the Murmur. We only saw one enemy from this, but it was basically like these chunks of stone and like bits of like human parts, but in like the angel aesthetic, forming and deforming around and like becoming pieces and crawling towards the player and becoming like a giant worm creature. all seemed really cool. Lore-wise, from this, there's going to be a lot to talk about, I'm sure. Hub. This is also notably, seemingly going to be structured like Angels of the Zarimon, where you're going to have a hub and then go out into like your randomly generated missions. They even showed like a teleporter that seems to be like you'll get to the end of the mission, then you're going to go through the teleporter, which will send you back to the hub, as opposed to having to like go back to the elevator, like Angels of the Zarimon style. So yeah, this seems like it's going to be really cool. Another Angels of the Zarimon style update I'm way into. The lore that we're probably going to be getting from like what the vessels are, any like dialogue we can get from Lloyd, who seemed to be the partner of Albrecht, is probably going to be incredibly important for the future of the game. And just more information on the Void and the Man on the Wall and just all that type of stuff. Looks extremely interesting gameplay wise. Looks super fun. The new enemy types seem cool. Like aesthetically, it's just beautiful, especially with the new lighting and everything that we got to see. Exceedingly interesting. Then we moved into Warframe 1999. Now, before I open this, I implore you, please go watch the Warframe 1999 trailer. I cannot play it in this video. There's nothing I can do to do that because it has copyrighted music in it, which was not a problem from streaming. Thank you, DE, for doing that, for making it so that wasn't a problem for any of the streamers. That is much appreciated. But the trailer fucking rules and is really cool and interesting, and we're going to talk about it here, but you should go watch it. It is not that long, and it's not really a trailer. It's actually a trailer and some gameplay and stuff, but it is really, really fucking cool. You should go look at that thing. 1999, though. Warframe 1999. This is next year's cinematic quest. We don't know when next year. Probably we're going to talk about this at the next Tennocon, and then it's going to come out, if I had to take a guess. But this is, like, the humans as Warframes thing is immediately what we see as this starts up. The Excalibur is named Arthur, fighting his way through a horde of what appears to be like early hive-infested, taking over like 90s era TV technology, as you can kind of see here in this screenshot. His contact is Doi. I think that's how I'm supposed to say it. I don't know how I'm supposed to say the name. Also, thing that's notable about that is that Oi appears to be Mag, based on the comms that she has with him before the like in the kind of midpoint in the trailer. You can hear Mag's like ability casts going off from like her side of the comms. So it seems like she is Mag, and they are both searching for Dr. Entrati, Albrecht, who seems to be the cause of conflict over like the whole of 1999. The quest is happening on Y2K, like literally like New Year's 1999. And the end of the trailer, we see that Albrecht is seemingly the Man in the Wall, which, for those of you that know about the old Albrecht lore, which if you don't, then I would suggest you go underneath Deimos and what is there right now and go listen to all of the Albrecht lore and level Lloyd's Syndicate up, because you need to in order to get all of it. The thing with Albrecht is that Albrecht discovered the Void. He went in and like he meets the Man in the Wall essentially, and then he escapes the Void and gets out. And he's kind of the reason for all of like the big like Warframe technology and all this shit that goes crazy. And you know, he has like a lot of hooks into why the world is the way that it is, with all like the Void technology and like the Man on the Wall and all of those things affecting the origin system. And a big hook for Albrecht is that Albrecht does not do the like switching body things of the Orokin. He doesn't go from his body to a new body. He doesn't do like what the Grineer Queens did, which is go into Grineer bodies and like continue on their life like by switching bodies and taking new bodies each time. And the reason why he doesn't do that is in the lore for him, he doesn't know at that point in what we have for him whether or not it was him or the Man in the Wall that escaped the Void. And seemingly, at least at the end of this trailer for Warframe 1999, it was the Man in the Wall. It could also be, of course, always the Man in the Wall, you know, posing as Albrecht, which is very possible. There's a lot of possibilities with like what we're actually seeing and what that actually means and what occurs for real whenever this update comes out. Also, at the note, the trailer fucking bangs. You should go watch it. It's really good. I think it's extremely cool, and I'm really wondering how we're getting there. I've written down a few possibilities just to think about. Number one is the obvious one: time travel. Albrecht and / us are going to be time traveling to the past to some like origin point, or to like influence the past to change the future, so on and so forth. Which is extremely possible. We could be doing a big time travel thing where like events unfold in a way where the Warframes are people now. Also, another possible universe being influenced by the origin system, like with Duviri, we could get, the Operator, the Drifter, and Arthur. That's exceedingly possible to have just like it be another possible universe that Albrecht has traveled to that we will follow him to. Also, a theory that I have heard is that this reality, this Warframe 1999, is like a reality contained within the vessels that Albrecht has also entered in order to like power them or for some purpose there. I will say that one seems relatively unlikely. I personally don't think that the trailers are connected in the way that they're presented, because this screen, basically the way that we're presented is this like logo goes away, and then the vessel wakes up, you appearing to have like transferenced inside of it, and then it like lines up with the beginning of the 1999 trailer. I don't think that those two things, like, I think that's incredibly cool visually, and they did like a fantastic transition point there. But I also don't really think that it's likely that that's going to be the actual connecting point in game whenever these two updates are coexisting. But yeah, it is also worth noting, for the benefit of like the time travel theory, the thing that on the desk here next to Lloyd, there's actually like an old style like 90s PC that you like interface with, and then that's when you do transference into the vessel. So the vessel and that equipment do seem to possibly be connected in some way, but honestly much more likely than like this reality is housed within the vessel seems to be that the time travel would be like much more on the table, and that like another alternate reality, and maybe the vessels are a way to travel between those seems also much more likely than like the vessels themselves containing those realities. But yeah, it's all super interesting. The lore implications of it are really cool. The trailer bangs. Whispers in the Wall also seems like it's going to be really interesting and have like probably way more questions than answers once again. But I think it's going to have enough answers that like it's the questions that come after that become way more interesting. So that's going to be sick. I think that Tennocon was amazing. Being there in person was wonderful. Thank you to everyone who said hello. It is always appreciated, and I never mind saying hello to everybody and talking about the game and everything. And yeah, thank you to DE for inviting me out to Tennocon. That is much appreciated as well, and it was a fantastic time being there. And I can't wait to go again next year. But yeah, Tennocon was great. Hanging out with the devs and everything, like going to the studio and everything, which I posted a few pictures of on Twitter. Just an absolutely excellent time. But yeah, if you're watching this video, it's very likely that if you're on today, I'm streaming. So if you want to ask any questions about Tennocon or anything like that, reminder again, I did stream 8 hours of it on Twitch whenever I was there with the new streaming backpack, which we'll get some more into that later. But yeah, just excellent. I can't wait to see what like the future holds for the game. I think that we might be entering into an even better time for Warframe, if that's even possible, because I think we're kind of already at like the best time to be playing Warframe. And if Whispers of the Walls like hits as hard as Angels of the Zarmon did, it's only going to get better from here. So yeah, that's going to be the breakdown. Yeah, I'm gonna go play Warframe. Come hang out on stream. I'll see you there. Okay, welcome on in, everyone. It has been quite a month with Tennocon happening and everything, but moving back in, well, we have another convention this month, but thank you to all the patrons, first and foremost, Alex Parnham, Angel SPM, Arbiter Daydream, Benuven, Blotomatic, Brandon Coggin, Brutus Salazar, Dylan Dworsky, Athrain, Fawn, IQ is Thick, James Harthorne, JC4 Science, Jesse Richens, John Lobdill, Joshua Adams, Lou Zanth, Malachx Williams, Minty Ginja, Michta, Nerve, Ramoxidate, Tamrielic Wastelander, The Coupon of Death, Homeworm, Waifu Wars, Zack Saner, and Zeraphir. Much appreciated to all of the 0 patrons, but also thank you to all of the $5 patrons. There are a ton of you now, and it is much appreciated. And of course, the $2 patrons as well. Yeah, this month, I'm going to be trying to, honestly, there's so many games releasing. I am going to be streaming a lot, but also trying to get a lot of guides and stuff out there, especially for some new Warframe stuff that has been happening. But yeah, it'll be a good time.